Welcome back to Project 94 for another Diecast review. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Joey Logano's 2017 Discount Tire Xfinity Ford Mustang number 22 for Penske Racing. Now, a fairly interesting diecast here. This one right here is kind of a blast from the past, even though 2017 was only a couple years ago. But man, those years go by fast, don't they? What a beautiful diecast this is, to remember the scheme that this car was. And of course, several drivers piloted this car from 2015 to 2016 to 2017. And of course, it's just a fantastic car. 2018 a little bit, I'd like to believe. It's just one of those schemes that Penske has always had in the Xfinity series and eventually brought up to Cup with Keselowski, which is now on Cindric. But yeah, this is a pretty interesting one. This is like a random diecast in my collection. Like, the only reason I got it was just because I wanted a 22 Xfinity car. Not necessarily because I wanted another Logano car. That's definitely not the case. But for being another diecast for the Xfinity series schemes, it's not a bad one to have. I mean, you are going to get some use out of it despite that freakishly big Joey Logano name on there. And really, how big did you have to make that Joey Logano logo? That's what I know this diecast for in my collection, is that big Joey Logano logo. It's like, yep, that's the 2017 Xfinity Logano car. Kind of makes this interesting is that it's his Cup number and it's a Cup leech. Yikes, that is a double blow for the fans that don't like Cup drivers at Xfinity, and I'm one of them. But it definitely makes an interesting diecast to review for Logano fans to see on this channel. So, without further ado, let's have a look at this car here. So, of course, you're going to have the Ford Mustang front end for the Xfinity. Very flat, very small headlights, grills, and details like that. You got number 22 right there. No Penske Racing. They usually don't put Penske Racing on there. That's weird that they don't do that with any of them. Mustang right there, and of course the Ford logo. Let's start off with a decal error. We have the Ford logo literally hugging the top of the Ford Mustang logo right there, so that's just wonderful to know that as well. Got tires.com, discount tire, Pennzoil right there, Xfinity. You have Sunoco, Goodyear in blue, NASCAR Xfinity, Moog, Mao, Edelbrock, Duralast brakes, Mechanics Wear, and K&N. You have Discount Tire, NASCAR race car right there. You have Joey Logano's freakishly big name hugging the top of the roof rail right there. Number 22, little pit arrows so they know where to lift him up at, a little indicator. You got Ford Racing, it looks like that's on there. Ford Performance, or Ford Go Further. And I really cannot read that second one. I really can't. Is that Fitzgerald? PBG, you got PPG, Mazak, Freightliner, Odyssey batteries, that looks like, and Safety Clean. Got Fitzgerald, Rev, Snap-on, Discount Tire. Ooh, some different kind of sponsors on here. Koenig, that sounds like a tuner car part company. Vox, a name I can't read, Wheels. You have Tip Top. Wow, these are weird sponsors. Is that what that says? Tip Top? Wow, that's interesting. Liquid Metric. Looks like that says right there. Got Vision, TSW, Mamo, Italy, and what is that? Drag? These all sound like parts for wheels and tires. That should give me a clue. Discount Tire, they sell tire parts. So you're going to have these type of rim companies, rubber companies maybe. So some of these are kind of sounding familiar, but that Liquid Metric one and then like Tip Top, like these are like really out there sponsors, if that's what they say. They're kind of hard to read, but they are on there. Discount Tire and SKF right there. You have looks like there's no rear view camera on this one, guys. It just says, oh, there it is. Oh, it's right here. It's not next to the GT. It's down here. Okay, I almost missed that one. GT, the rear view camera. Discount Tire number 22. Pick22towin.com. This is the Xfinity series, so I don't think I'll be doing that. You got the Michigan license plate, and that is what's going to tell us the year this was made. And 17. So you see that little registration sticker? If you want to know what year your Mustang diecast is, take a look at that tiny little registration sticker. Just like on a real life United States license plate, you'll have a little sticker. So it's got 17 on there. So Yeah, that's kind of a little fun fact about the Mustang decals. That's why I always point that out. Ford license plate. Got America's Tire. That'd be kind of cool if they had a car that said America's Tire instead of discount. That'd be kind of a cool idea. Got Logano right there and 22. And yes, this paint scheme is going to have some differences than the one that runs now, which we will get to looking at. Of course, the front of it's got a white splitter with a red coating of the wrap over it. So you're going to have like a half white, half red, but it's mostly majority white. Cool to have a colored splitter. That's really nice to have on there. Have another black outline with a thin white outline because there's a black like shadow gradient effect. And you're going to see that go all across the side just to add some more depth to it. You got the Mustang door detail. You can see like the little highlights, the little door handle, and all that. Kind of cool that the Xfinity series would go to that extent for manufacturer identity. Red side skirts on here. Of course, the black stripe, which is a lot thicker. Going to go straight across the side with a white outline on the top, very thin. And of course, you're going to have the numbers. Let's look at that before we continue the rest. Got the red outline and the black number fill-in. This, you have a bit of a shadow of white outline, a black number fill-in with a red outline. And coming back onto the sides, you're going to have a bit of that, more of the gradients going over that stripe pattern, which is really, really interesting. Just adds a bit more depth to it, guys. I think it really does. It could be for it to look more like a Mustang, guys. That's really cool. And of course, it's going to have the SKF with the black and the white stripe on the quarter panel, the ethanol logo. And coming onto the back, you have the cat wing, or the, what do you call that? Mickey Mouse ears, cat ear, giant red bolted on spoiler with lots of detailed textured stuff on it. How do you like that? Makes it look more like the cars actually used to look when this was the type of wing they ran. I wonder why they got rid of this wing. Probably for more aero advantages. And of course the exhaust back here, the exhaust mount and the little brake lights back here. They're going to have the black stripe with the gradients going over. And kind of an interesting, kind of a good place to point out the fact of the detailed stripes. So that, you see how that, like, the gradients and the thin white outline and the black bold. That's what goes around the entire side of the car, just with the red kind of interfering with over the splitter and the side skirts. But that stripe, very, very detailed. And now we're going to go to the upper portion of this car. So it's going to wrap around the sides of the top side of the roof panels, which the A, B, and C pillars, all covered up with the black. And of course, the sides of the very boxy, yawed hips of the Xfinity car, very flat compared to the next-gen Cup car or the Gen 6 cars. So the shape of the deck lid is pretty much taken by the white, just a little bit of overwrap because that's the way the paint scheme was designed. And of course, the black is just going to go all the way across the sides of the top. It's going to take even parts of the edges of the roof itself, and the roof rails are of course going to be black as a result. And on the front, get a little hood opening right there, which is kind of misplaced, but not too big of a deal. I mean, it's really not that big of a deal, of course. But now, of course, it's going to wrap a little underneath as well. So it's going to take a little bit of the side and have a thin red outline, evenly spaced, very narrow amount of space between that, the red stripe and then the black with the white going straight through it. Some more like gradient details like around the 22, the upper part, probably just more like Mustang details right there on the car, which is cool. Nice to have little nods to the manufacturer's car. And of course, that red outline that's very thin is going to wrap around that shape, so it kind of gives it like two like fins, very thick fins towards the front that wrap next to the sides of the hood over the wheel well, where the blue Goodyears are. Very, very cool. And of course, because it's Xfinity and not the Cup car, it's going to be thicker. These can change shape because sometimes they have a little spike down going back up like the throwback for Keselowski and the Keselowski version of the car. Now it's just like perfectly straight. So these tend to change. Where I'm pointing, those tend to change from time to time. But the way it is on this diecast, it's pretty thick. And it's pointy at the end, which is cool. It gives it kind of an aggressive, modern style to this particular body, which I really like. And of course, you're going to have red rims. Colored wheels! So the Xfinity cars can still have the colored wheels. That's really cool. And that, my friends, is going to do it for the paint scheme and the sponsors. So pretty random diecast review here. I wanted to get a few of the new Xfinity cars and some retro Xfinity cars in here, which is really cool. I like looking at these old Xfinity cars. Kind of takes me back to a time of what drivers were in what rides, what the paint schemes were, what drivers made appearances. Just kind of a nostalgic thing for me, which I really like, just looking at these cars. So yeah, the discount tire scheme is kind of an iconic NASCAR scheme. I mean, it ran the 2 series, and I don't remember if they had a truck, but this particular scheme was more popular on the cars, the Nationwide and the Cup Series. Very, very cool to see this thing in the Cup Series, this same scheme, because as a kid, this is one of the schemes I really, really digged with Keselowski and just the Penske discount tire stuff with any of them, any of the drivers that have driven it. It's always a nice car. Here's the front of the car. Here's the hood. Here's the right side. Here's the back. The Mustang GT. Here's the deck lid. Here's the roof. Here's the left side and the chassis. And that, my friends, is going to do it for the 2017 Joey Logano Discount Tire Xfinity car. Very, very cool to have this one, honestly. This car, they do have the 15 and 16 versions of this car, which are almost similar, but I have the 2017, which is probably the most recent. I don't recall one in 2018. There probably was one, but this is the version that I have of it. So, of course, giant Logano. We got the Pennzoil. So, yeah, you could obviously tell this is a Logano car. So, if you're collecting Logano cars, put this one in with all your Logano cars in your collection because it counts. Organize your driver's collections. It'll probably make it even more fun for you. Very tiny decals in the back due to the black Mustang GT details, of course. Tiny little discount tire, tiny little website. Just little intricate details like those sponsors up there were a pain in the butt to read. And I do all these videos on the fly, so that's a challenge for me. But I had a fun time reviewing this one, and hopefully we get some more retro Xfinity cars. I have more, I just got to make videos on them. But this one in particular was a lot of fun. Very, very cool diecast. Valuable in some way. Hopefully you guys can find it in like tents. That's where I got this, from a tent. I did not buy this back in 2017. I just found it at a tent. Sometimes you just gotta be lucky with those. So thank you all for checking this one out. Comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next diecast review. And always remember to make sure you know what you're doing when you're putting decals on your diecast. And please don't put freakishly large, giant, unnecessarily sized driver names over the driver's roof rail.